a button here. Push it. Is this the blade?
Try it. Let's just try it out. Forward, back, wherever you want to go.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm up here.
I'm going to move on this side over here.
Okay. My role here is speaking as chairman of Pacific County Drainage District, and the Drainage District was founded in August of 1900 and has been doing its job for 116 years. And we are charged by state law with building and protecting and maintaining the area within the district, which is basically everything from the highway to the hill, all the way on up to the county line, and then there's the Grace Harbor one that goes up beyond that. All that land is a wetland that is down basically at beach level, that's been protected by tide gates. It drains out, so it's low land. When the water comes into that, it all floods. So we're charged by the state with maintaining the district, and up until the erosion got to the point where it has in the last few years, that's meant keeping the ditch open and letting the water go away. Suddenly, there is this new threat that's several orders of magnitude beyond anything we've ever coped with before. And the Drainage District's doing everything it can to try to do our job to keep the ocean from coming into that low wetland area. But that is our responsibility. We're charged by the state with doing that. The breach of the dike. The old dike is already breached. The original dike is where the old highway was. When the new highway was put in there, it became de facto the next dike. Our tide gates passed through that, and that's the last structure and on the last part of the old sand ridge that separated that low cranberry land from the ocean. On the breach of the dike, there are about 4,000 acres of land that are down at sea level. That goes all the way up to Elk River and out to the sand ridge that the Grayland proper is on and back to the hill. And there are hundreds of homes and farm buildings down in there. Audubon Society alone has a couple hundred acres of protected habitat land in there. There's the infrastructure that serves all of Grayland. The transformers for the PUD are down in the flood zone. Large chunks of the highway in between there would be underwater on any major high tide. So it's just, it's hard. I've been trying to get my head around this for years now, and I still can't say I've got my head around how big a problem this would be. I think if you want to make comparisons, I'm thinking of like the Oso landslide disaster or New Orleans 9th Ward when their dike breached. This could be on a scale to take us on the national news and get the president to come and visit. I'm not looking forward to that. Oh, sorry, is that political? We have been for the last 7 years, as the erosion came into the mouth of the ditch, we've been getting very creative at trying to stop the force of these waves coming up there. We've been working with Fish and Wildlife on what we can and can't do in that zone, and we've come up with a way of anchoring large wood. We've basically got a log structure that keeps the log jam. All the wood that comes into Willapa ends up on this good southerly, ends up on this beach and gets jammed up the mouth of the ditch in rafts that would plug the ditch solid if given a chance. So we've got anchored logs and a log screen that we clean periodically through the winter that allows the ditch to continue to flow out. And we stack the wood in creative ways that protect the bank on either side. And this technique has been very effective at slowing the process. Things that would have been advancing by 50 or 100 feet in a year may go 5 or 10. And it's a delayed retreat that we've been fighting on that one, and that's working for us for now. And we can do that on a very low budget, but it exhausts our very small budget. We have an annual budget of about $20,000, which about $15,000 is available for maintenance. This year, thanks to some good partners, Mike Norton at Conservation District, Chad at DOT, and Lisa was very helpful with the county. We've gotten a lot of support, and we've gotten some funding, and we've started putting in on the other side, the other side of the plug in the bottle, I'll call it, a buried revetment over by where Ron and Greg's house sticks out on the rock, where it was starting to cut around behind. It had actually come through the watershed point and was getting to the point where the land all drained east and into the district. So we're about 80% complete on that structure now. It's a buried revetment, not to the design standards that Vladimir was showing, but I'm confident it's good for 10 years or so at least. What we're trying to do at this point is buy time. Our whole strategy is if we wait for the solution that's tens of millions of dollars in, who knows, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, if we get one big storm, that land's gone. You don't save it once it's gone. So we're fighting the delaying action. Here is roughly the area that we're talking about. The tide gates there, which drain all of the water from county line south, come out through the tide gates here. I stand there and look out at the ocean like a general facing the enemy. And this is the mouth of the ditch down here, is the left flank. That's where we've been anchoring the wood and working with the property owner to try to defend his bank there so that we have some spatial separation from those tide gates so the waves aren't coming right against them. This is where we've just put in the new revetment as an extension so it doesn't cut around behind Ron and Greg's and come in this way, which is actually the closest point to the highway right now. And this whole stretch in the middle that I've labeled front line, that's our next priority. We're watching that very closely. Again, we're a little over 500 feet from the ocean right now, and the bank is at the point where it's all sloping toward the highway. It drains in and down to the drainage ditch that way, so when the waves come over the top, they go in, down, and inundate. And so for big winter storms, if we get one of those 10-foot plus tides, and we get a storm surge on top of that whole area starts getting flooded. It would be really nice to get some kind of a berm up there that was high enough that it was higher than the ridge just to keep the flooding from coming in. And again, from our standpoint, if we could figure out a way and we could find partners in the short term to help us just get something against that storm surge coming in, that would buy time for the long-range solution. So urgency, just one major storm like we had in December of '07 would be enough right now to come and put major erosion force waves directly against the highway grade. And if that lasted for several days, that could go through. If that goes through, we're seeing flooding going, I don't know how far, miles and miles up one night. So that's the gamble we're playing every winter is when is that next December '07 storm coming? And that's what we need to get some kind of protection up against while we wait for the big picture long-term solution. So I view our job as slapping Band-Aids on the holes. When we see things starting to give, we need to have the resources and the ability to get out there and slap Band-Aids on it so we don't lose what we have. That's, as a drainage district, well, we just got to. And again, 1.4 or 1.25 miles from basically where the old barrier dune on the outside to the hill on the inside, there's this gap between, and we've got to keep that gap closed. We've got to keep the cork in the bottle, because when that cork comes out of the bottle, there is nothing between here and Elk River to slow things down. Financial assistance for Band-Aid defenses. Again, we're operating on a really, not even a shoestring budget. We're operating on a thread. If it weren't for help and support from the Conservation District and others, we wouldn't be able to do what we've been doing. We're going to be looking for more of that coming up next year, and we're going to just keep slapping the Band-Aids on as long as we can. Propose, I put on here when I was talking with Kelly, one of the things that because there is an existing Corps of Engineers project working with the tribe up here at this time, there is a hope that we could be viewed as part of that project. If this coastline could be viewed as all part of that same system, I would love to see a fix expanded into that, whether it be beach nourishment or revetment or whatever it is. But when there's work being done here, because I believe, did you say that 2018 is when the court is scheduled to be?
That's what we put in our budget. Whether we get funding or not is a separate question.
Of course. but that would be one of the things, just because back to the urgency question. There's doing the kind of large-scale project. You're looking in terms of multiple years. I see this as a major opportunity if we could find a way to partner with the project that's already in place on the tribe to maybe expand the scope of the area and get something in place a little faster than a completely out-of-the-box new solution might do. So I'm just putting that out there as a request, not as a request, as a just floating the balloon because the urgency. We got to do something fast, and the long-term solution we can sort out. But having something, just to keep that plug in the bottle, because once it goes, we lose so much.
Any clarifying questions for David? I think the first question is we definitely know that there's a sense of